Welcome to BSW's Tech Dive. Tech Dive.
Submerge the ship.
The show goes technically deep into products you care about. The new, the old, the newish. So put on your gear, close up the hatch, and prepare to
Dive. Submerge the ship.
And now, here's John.
Welcome to this edition of BSW Tech Dive. I am John Lynch, Director of Business Development here at BSWUSA.com, broadcast supply worldwide. Our topic today is a whole new platform of on-air processing created by Orban Labs. And Orban, of course, founded originally by Bob Orban about 55 years ago. And by the way, if you're wondering, how much is 55 years ago? That's before even I got into radio. That's how long ago it was. Let's bring on our guest. He is the Director of Business Development and a great engineer, Mike Pappas from Orban Labs. Mike, welcome to the show. And first question I have for the 5950 is, this is the new top-of-the-line Orban unit. It's smaller, and it outperforms the bigger units you used to make. How'd that happen?
Hi, John. Thanks for having me on your Tech Dive show today. Yes, you're correct. It does more, costs less. And how did we do that? Well, it was a concerted effort to pack more features into a 1RU box than we previously had in a 3RU box, and do it for about $4,000 less than the product it replaced, which is the Orban 8700i and ILT products. So when we decided that we were going to rework the whole FM processing line, we sat down and took a lot of input from customers about things they wanted, things they didn't want, price point requirements, all that good stuff. Along with the fact that, it had to have Orban's amazingly great sound, and couldn't leave anything on the table. And that's how we got to this point. So the 5950, and it's a slightly lower priced version called the 5750, while both have high resolution touch screens, both use high speed DSP audio processing, have multiple Raspberry Pi CM4 compute modules in it, have dual redundant AES67 SMPTE 2110 AOIP. Both use HTML5 for remote control and updates, any browser on any device, so you no longer have to run specialized software to talk to the box. And dual redundant power supplies. And as I said, it's more features than an 8700i for $4,000 less. So hopefully that gets you started down there. Didn't mean to smack the screen there, but did it anyways.
It's a live show.
It's a live show.
Now, one question that comes to mind is, okay, the big buzzword that's been coming around lately is artificial intelligence. But you've got Bob Orban. You don't need anything artificial.
Well, and that's the best part. Bob is, I believe, 77 this year, and, comes to work 5 days a week, and he's always engaging, and every time I talk to him on the phone, I kind of feel like Beaker from the Muppets. My hair stands up on end, and smoke comes out of my ears, and my IQ goes up by 10 points. And
permanently or temporarily?
If it was permanent, I'd be in Mensa class. But no, he's a really bright guy. He's got 2 doctorates, one from MIT and another one from Stanford, and when Bob talks, everybody listens real carefully. Some of the options that are available on the 5950 are dual internal Nielsen PPM encoders. We do micro MPX encoding as an option. We also have APT's MPX encoder. You can do remote audio monitoring via IP. There's an option for 2 gigabytes of internal storage and an optional IP stream decoder. I should mention that with the AOIP, which is standard, management comes out of its own separate port. So management of the device does not use the AOIP networks, which is real important for security. And then we should just kind of talk about a couple of things here. First off, the dual internal watermark encoders typically use one of those for the FM side, and then the other one is used for your HD output or streaming output. Also, you can do remote audio monitoring via IP, so you can listen to the box remotely from some other location if you're trying to set it up and you're in a situation where you can't hear the off-air signal. The 2 gigabyte internal storage could be used for things like top-of-the-hour IDs or local insertions for advertising, things like that. Backup audio in case somebody goes out and takes your fiber that's going to your site out with a backhoe. You know, those kind of problems. You're always kind of on the air with it. It's very flexible.
And those backhoes do get in the way sometimes.
You know, it says call before you dig, and nobody does. And, if they perp walked some of those people with orange jumpsuits and put them in jail for 30 days, I think a lot less of that would happen.
Now, I got a question on the options, that if somebody orders a 5950 and doesn't opt for any of the options, can they be added later?
Absolutely. And there's no hardware changes. So you just call up John Lynch at BSW and tell him I want the dual internal watermark encoders and hand him your credit card. And then we email you with a key, and you add the key to the box using the browser, any browser, and off it goes.
And so there's the phone number right at the top of the screen, right over there, 800-426-8434 for John Lynch at BSW. By the way, we're talking with Mike Pappas from Orban Labs. So 5950, top of the mark, is now replacing the 8700 series, but it's, kind of reminds me of a line from Robin Williams in the movie Aladdin, where he's playing the genie and he talks about big immense power and little bitty living space. Yep. Because you crammed all that in to one rack unit.
Well, yes, and got significantly more feature set, and the customers that have put 5950s on the air are very happy with the audio quality. And we had some initial sites that we seeded with early releases of 5950s, and customers are just absolutely gassed with the audio quality.
Which is the whole point.
Well, I believe that in radio, it's kind of important to have good sounding audio. So okay, now 5950, top of the heap there, but what are we losing, or what are we not achieving if we go with the 5750 and save a little money? The biggest thing you don't get with 5750 is there's no MX limiting on the 5750 series, and that's a direct result of it. One of the cost savings measures we do with the 5750 is reduce the number of DSPs by 2, and that's why you don't get MX limiting. There's just not enough horsepower to do it all. But I mean, if you don't, if you're not in a competitive market where you've got to be the loudest signal on the dial, a 5750 is a absolutely stellar sounding processor if you're not battling out for the last couple of dB of loudness. And a lot of markets don't need to be loud, or a lot of stations aren't, in a format war that requires them to be the loudest signal on the dial. And you can certainly make a great sounding station with it if you're not looking to be the loudest guy on the dial.
But if you do have to beat up those other guys in the dial, that's where you go with the 5950.
Well, and also, John, is we've got the 5950 under $10,000.
Right.
And you start thinking about all the features that it's got, and the 5750 too. It's got virtually all the same features except for MX limiting, and again, without being very price competitive in the market.
The other thing is they're available.
We actually have them in stock. And I should mention a couple of things about those. So you can set those up. So, for example, you're going to use AOIP as your primary source for feeding either a 5750 or 5950. If the AOIP goes away, you can program the box to go to your AES input, for example. If that doesn't exist, you can use the optional streaming IP option, and you can stream audio off the internet. If that doesn't exist, you can tell it to go and play audio out of the 2 gigabytes of memory, which is in both boxes. Lots of flexibility there. And very easy to set up and use. You can also do things like you can plug your EAS box into the second AES input and use the GPIO on the back so that when an EAS alert comes in, it automatically switches to the EAS box, and when the alert clears, and the box sends out the EAS alert, when the alert clears, it'll switch back to whatever programming you had previously organized. So a lot of functionality there, and especially when you start looking at some of the things that you can do with the options for it.
Mike, I want to thank you for joining us on this edition of BSW Tech Dive. Our guest, Mike Pappas from Orban Labs. And by the way, this show produced with the facilities of HDV Mixer, also available from BSW. But 5950 and 5750 from Orban, available now from bswusa.com, or by calling the number up here. No, it's over here, 800-426-8434. Yes, I'm an old radio guy, not an old TV guy. But anyway, that's what we're talking about here. Orban 5950 and 5750, available from bswusa.com. Mike, thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching this edition of BSW Tech Dive.